And Young Buzz, today we're diving deep into something that might just change the way you listen to Stray Kids forever. I'm talking about 3RACHA, the powerhouse trio behind almost everything you hear when you press play on a Stray Kids track. If you've ever wondered why Stray Kids have that unmistakable sound, the answer isn't just the choreography, the vocals, or the stage presence. It starts right in a tiny trainee dorm room and a home studio lovingly called Chan's room, where Bang Chan, Changbin, and Han began crafting what would become the blueprint for one of K-pop's most self-determined acts. Now, before we go further, let's set the scene. 3RACHA started in 2016 as a self-directed hip-hop and producer unit. They were basically 3 trainees scribbling lyrics, beating out rhythms on whatever they could find, and layering tracks in their own makeshift studio. And that hands-on DIY ethos? It never left. It became the engine that fuels not just Stray Kids' music, but their identity. Everything from the serrated synths to the elastic rap flows and those sudden left-turn arrangements that make you go, wait, what just happened? That's 3RACHA in action. What's fascinating is how they divided their labor. Bang Chan, the captain, often takes the lead on arrangement and overall sound architecture. Changbin? He's the lyrical powerhouse, building dense rhyme schemes that hit like a punch in the chest. And Han rounds it out with instinctive melody writing, structuring sections, and fine-tuning arcs to make sure everything flows just right. The 3 of them start from an idea. Sometimes it's just a mood, sometimes a line, and in real time, they sketch, revise, and shape it into the backbone of a song. Producer Mike Daly once described working with them on Easy as watching a 3-part dance. Changbin and Han throw verses together on the spot, while Bang Chan iterates hooks and melodies simultaneously. It's fast, it's intense, and it's incredibly precise. Let's take a look at some songs that really showcase their method. God's Menu from 2020 isn't just a song, it's a statement. With its kitchen metaphor for production, tight halftime drops, and chant-like hooks, Stray Kids effectively flipped a song campaign plan because they felt it represented them best. And it worked. That track didn't just chart, it redefined their trajectory. Following up with Backdoor, they refined that formula even further. Industrial hits, brass stabs, call and response verses, stair-stepping pre-choruses. These songs capture what 3RACHA chases in arrangement, a perfect intersection of attitude, humor, tension, and release. And honestly, if you listen carefully, you can hear each member's fingerprint on the sound. By 2021, some critics labeled their work as noise music. But 3RACHA didn't flinch, they embraced it. With the album No AZ and tracks like Thunderous, they took jagged textures and framed them with clarity, purpose, and even traditional Korean elements. The takeaway? The noise isn't accidental, it's contrast. Bang Chan's arrangements, Changbin's rhythmic density, and Han's melodic timing all converge to make that contrast feel intentional, thrilling, and yes, totally Stray Kids. Now let's talk hooks, verses, and the art of contrast, because this is where things get really clever. Stray Kids title tracks often replace the classic Western sung chorus with a graphic hook, percussion-led or chant-adjacent. Verses are treated almost like characters, each with a distinct role. Changbin with dense internal rhymes, Han pivoting between rap and melody, and Bang Chan engineering the pre-chorus to create tension that slams into a drop-style chorus. S-Class is probably the clearest example. Sections flip like a Rubik's Cube, motifs recur, drum programming anchors everything, yet it never feels chaotic because the top-line motifs guide you through the song's architecture. Lyrically, 3RACHA balances macro and micro storytelling. Macro is about ambition, resilience, self-definition. Think Thunderous or Maniac. Micro is about insomnia, late-night thoughts, inside jokes, subtle yet intimate. Han's writing in particular is a masterclass in cohesion. As one of the youngest idols admitted to Kamka, he's contributed to well over 100 works, and that consistency helps tie the whole discography together. Bang Chan's arrangements translate sticky ideas into dynamic arcs, where to thin textures, when to land a drop, how to swap sound palettes to signal a new scene. Changbin's lyric density and percussive top lines give the tracks their chantable edges, while Han's melodic instincts create that push and pull energy. And across albums, you'll notice production signatures that feel like a signature. tuned percussion motifs, aggressive transient design, call and response orchestration, sudden texture flips, and off-grid hi-hat patterns. Even unit tracks act like laboratories, letting them experiment with darker synths, slow burn grooves, and new rhythmic angles that later inform title tracks. Take S-Class again. Tempo feints, section swaps, onomatopoeic hooks. It's almost chaotic but orchestrated with surgical precision. And it's not just artistry for art's sake, it's commercial success too. Stray Kids' streak of Billboard 200 #1 debuts, top K-pop album awards, and high-profile performances like the VMAs all link back to 3RACHA's hands-on authorship. And here's the kicker. You can hear it. Imagine sitting behind the three in the studio. Changbin drops a rhythmically sticky phrase, Han reshapes it into a contour you can hum, Bangchan shifts elements on the timeline to carve negative space so the drop hits just right. Then the other 5 members step in. Felix adds bass timbers, Hunjin glides, Lino snaps, Sungmin brings clarity, IN warms it all up. And suddenly the mix isn't just a song, it's a world. That's the magic of 3RACHA. Small unit, big team, repeated precision. And the thing that really gets me is how much they think about the stage while writing. Every track is designed to perform. Big group chants for arena unison, negative space breaks for dance showcases, modular sections for medleys. That feedback loop of write, perform, learn, write again is probably why Stray Kids' most complex songs never feel cluttered. Micro details like breath as percussion, multilingual texture, and FX that act like film cuts? They aren't gimmicks, they're intentional storytelling tools. The house sound comes through in every album. From ordinary to rockstar, textures and tempos evolve, but the identity remains intact. It's why fans talk about evolution instead of change. The sonic fingerprint of 3RACHA persists, even as grooves get slinkier, synths darker, or drops sharper. Unit tracks, side projects, and collaborations with international producers all feed back into the main discography, reinforcing identity rather than diluting it. And I have to ask you, listeners, how often do you actually stop and think about who wrote what in K-pop? With Stray Kids, the people on the posters are the people making the DAW decisions. That's huge, and it's rare. It means what you hear is exactly what they wanted you to hear, with all the creative nuances intact. That sense of intentionality is something that resonates whether you're listening on headphones, watching a performance, or just vibing to a replay. Now, if you pay attention to tracks like God's Menu, Backdoor, Thunderous, Maniac, and S-Class, you can actually trace their evolution. The recurring motifs, the pre-chorus engineering, the drops, the textural storytelling. Every sonic choice is a conversation between the 3 producers, between the members, and between the music and the audience. It's collaborative, it's dynamic, and honestly, it's kind of mesmerizing. The commercial results, they speak for themselves. Multiple Billboard #1 debuts, award recognition, global tours. It's proof that hands-on authorship can be both experimental and commercially viable. And 3RACHA isn't just behind the scenes. They're shaping Stray Kids' identity in real time, track by track, tour by tour. So before we continue into the next half, think about this. Every Stray Kids song isn't just a song. It's a constructed world, a puzzle of texture, rhythm, melody, and performance, all engineered to land in exactly the way they imagined. And knowing that you're hearing the very hands that created it, that's the kind of insider knowledge that can completely change how you experience a track. And picking up right where we left off, let's talk about why that insider perspective actually changes how you hear Stray Kids. When you know the story behind 3RACHA's songwriting, suddenly every drop, every chant, every seemingly chaotic section makes sense. Maniac, for example, isn't just a banger. It's a study in push and pull, texture and groove, tension and release. You can hear Han nudging a melody slightly off the beat to create that irresistible swing, Changbin stacking dense rhymes that hit like rapid-fire punches, and Bangchan orchestrating it all so nothing clashes. It's like watching a perfectly choreographed dance, but with sound. And the collaborative dynamic is fascinating too. 3RACHA isn't isolated. They write with 8 performers in mind. Each section is tailored to who delivers it, how the group breathes, and how the audience experiences it live. That's why tracks feel big without ever being messy. Even in unit tracks or side projects, you can see the experimentation feeding back into the main discography. Different textures, darker synths, playful melodies, yet the Stray Kids' identity stays rock solid. One thing I find really cool is how they embrace contrast as a storytelling tool. Jagged, noisy textures hit you harder because they're juxtaposed with clarity and space elsewhere in the song. That's why people sometimes call it noise music. But it's actually very deliberate. Contrast is the point. It's storytelling in audio form, and you can feel it physically in the way a chorus drops or a hook lands. And it's not just theory. Live performances bring it full circle. They write for the stage, for the cameras, for streaming, and the songs survive every format because 3RACHA has thought it through. Let's also appreciate the micro details that make Stray Kids feel distinct. Breath as percussion, multilingual textures, sound symbolic phrases, FX acting like film cuts, all of these are tiny choices that add up to a fully realized sonic world. And because the members themselves step in to color the lines, Felix's bass, Hyunjin's glide, Lee No's snappy hits, Sungmin's clarity, Ian's warmth, the music feels alive, not just produced. It's a blend of precision and personality that's rare in pop music anywhere in the world. Now, if you're a fan who's been following from the SoundCloud tapes to the latest world tour, you can hear the evolution. Ordinary, Maxident, 5-star, Rockstar, they're different, sure, but the DNA is unmistakable. That continuity is the payoff of an internal writing team iterating on their own ideas. And it's one reason why Stray Kids songs feel like constructed worlds rather than just tracks you passively listen to. So, here's my personal take. 3RACHA's role as creators doesn't just make Stray Kids unique. It makes the listening experience deeper. When you know the thought, intention, and labor behind every beat, hook, and drop, it transforms the music from something catchy into something you can analyze, appreciate, and even get inspired by. And honestly, it makes me respect them so much more. Not just as performers, but as artists in the truest sense. I want to hear from you though. Do you catch all these details when you listen to Stray Kids? Or is it something you only notice now after learning about 3RACHA's process? Which track hits you hardest when you think about all the layers, the arrangement, and the thought behind it? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to know your perspective. And one last thing before we wrap. If you're a musician, producer, or just a curious fan, try this. Pick one Stray Kids song and listen to it like you're sitting in Chan's room with them. Focus on the pre-chorus engineering, the rhythmic density, the contrast, and the textures. It's mind-blowing how much is happening in a 4-minute track, and I guarantee it will make you appreciate the craft even more. That's it for today on Young Buzz. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Stray Kids and 3RACHA's songwriting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next analysis. And as always, keep listening closely, because when it comes to Stray Kids, every detail tells a story. Until next time, stay curious and stay buzzing.